Hey guys, I hope everyone had a good weekend. My weekend was pretty good. I had a good time with my husband on Saturday night, although it did kind of like remind me how much I do not miss those days, when I used to go clubbing and partying and because we went to Dave and Buster's and we left around like 9, and that's when the younger people started to come. Um, and they were smoking weed and drinking and just acting like little hooligans. And it just, I was like, I do not miss any of that. I was like, I can't wait to go back home and grab my little girl and get into bed with her and my husband and watch some TV and cuddle. um, so yeah, but it was good. Um, I'm sure you can probably tell I'm a little down. So, if you've been following along, you'll know that I've been struggling with working on the things that God's asked of me right now, which is um, changing my diet, getting healthier, exercising, um, studying the Bible regularly. Um, and then the two other things are learning Spanish and working on my other YouTube channel where I make food videos. Um, Nothing special. It's just I like to cook and bake, and so this was something I was trying to do to hopefully bring in some extra money for my husband and I. Um, and that was one of the things God asked me to continue to working on. So I said, okay. Um, I trust him, and I know why he wants me to learn Spanish as well. Um, that one's very clear. But I'm also fighting it tooth and nail, and it is so, so frustrating. So let me give you one example. With my food, um, I'm very sensitive to dairy, uh, especially like cheese. I love cheese, and I've been having so much of it lately. And then I also love sugar, especially when it comes in the form of soda. Love soda. And I'll make like little breakthroughs where I'm like doing better, and um and then when I backslide, I backslide hard. Like almost like self-sabotaging kind of behavior where it's like I know I shouldn't be doing it, but I'm doing it anyways. And it's like I don't understand it. It's so, so frustrating. And I've actually been struggling to pray the past, I think like 3 days now, to pray. I'll come in here at night after my daughter goes to bed, and I'll try to pray. And um, I can barely get in much prayer before I'm just opening my eyes and thinking about something else or getting distracted. And then I'll try to pray again, and then the same thing happens. And I don't know why that is, because I haven't been having trouble praying for a long time now. I've been doing pretty dang good with my prayer life. And then all of a sudden, the past few days, I'm just like, I am struggling so hard to pray and sit here and just pray. And I'm like, I feel like I'm almost like going out of my way to eat foods and drink soda when, like, I know I'm supposed to be doing the opposite. It's almost like I feel like I'm like doing it on purpose, but I'm not entirely sure why. And it's so, so frustrating because it's like, I'm like, what is wrong with me, God? Why is this so difficult for me? Why is it so hard for me to let go? You would think that when you know something's not good for you, something's not healthy, you would think that it would be easy to let something go, right? It would be easy to let it go and be like, hey, that's really bad for me. Like, I'll read stuff, I'll see things, and I'll be like, wow, like I really should be, staying away from these things. Do I? No. It doesn't make no sense. And I don't know what to do. You would think it would be such an easy thing to just like let go and just make better choices, right? You know, things that are good for you. It's like sitting down and reading the Bible is good for you, but yet when you sit down and God reminds you, oh hey, read the Bible, you're like you should, but you don't, and then you choose to go on, social media and watch stupid videos instead. It's like, why? And I know when I say we, I know that there's people watching right now that do that too. So don't tell me you don't, because we all know we all do that at some point. We just do. Like, it's just, but it's like, why do we do that? Why are we so like, and sometimes we're good at it. We're good at making good choices and doing things that are good for us. And then there's a lot more times where you should be doing something else, and then you go and do the wrong thing. Why is that? Is it like a sin thing that's ingrained in us? Or like what am I missing? Why is it so difficult? Like, why is it so hard to make these good changes? And I don't even see them as good. I see them as like, oh man, like I have to make these changes and it's hard and I don't want to do it, and and it's like, what's that about? That don't make no sense, right? I mean, think about it. On paper, that makes zero sense. But then when you're actually living it, it's like, it feels like pulling teeth to try and do the things that you should be doing for your health and, physically, mentally, spiritually. Guys, I don't know. I don't know what the heck. But I have to be honest, I'm super frustrated, and I just feel like I'll be doing good for like a little while, like I was recently. And then I don't even know what it was that set me off. I want to say it was my birthday. And so I treated myself to a Coke when I went to the store that day. But I bought the glass Cokes, and they only sell them in a 4-pack at Walmart. So I had to buy all 4. I mean, I didn't have to, but you know what I'm saying. So that to me was like, okay, I'm going to have a Coke with my lunch, and I'm going to treat myself, and then instead of like going out to eat or something and spending a bunch of money. So I bought the Cokes, and then, obviously I had the other 3. Well, 2, because I gave one to my husband, and I had one each day. And then on the 4th day, I gave one, or on the 3rd day or whatever, I gave one to myself and my husband. Then they're gone. But then the following day, we went out to eat for my birthday, so I got soda, and they give you refills. So then I had a refill, and I ate terrible. It was delicious. And then, yesterday, we went out to eat after church. And this is the kicker. We literally, after church, they were celebrating our pastor and his wife for 30 years of doing pastor work. So they had food. It was free. And my husband didn't want to go. And we left. And he wanted to get drive-through food. So we paid money. So I got a soda with my meal. And then today we got pizza and soda. It's like I'm falling off the wagon, but I'm not just falling off the wagon. I'm like jumping off the wagon full force, just jumping off. What's that about? It don't make no sense. I literally cannot understand it. And I'm living it. It's my problem, and I don't get it. I don't get why I'm like this. And I know it's not just me. I know that there's other people like that. I know it. I've seen it. I've met people. I've talked to people. Especially people who are alcoholics or drug addicts. There's a lot of them that don't want to do it anymore deep down, but they don't know how to stop. And I've had that problem. I've abused alcohol, and then I got on medication for my mental health, and they told me I couldn't drink anymore. So then I started abusing marijuana, and I abused that way more than I ever did alcohol. And then ever since I stopped smoking, it's like my food, and what drinks is now like my addiction, or I'm abusing that. So I guess it's like an emotional thing, but I don't know, I don't know. I keep at praying, and I'm asking God to help, heal whatever it is that's causing me to be like this. And I make a little progress, and then I fall off the wagon like I am right now. And I hate it, but I do it anyways. Doesn't make no sense. Well, guys, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm struggling. Let's read today's chapters and see what Jesus is up to in the Bible.
And while he was still speaking, behold, a multitude, and he who was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them and drew near to Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said to him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? When those around him saw what was going to happen, they said to him, Lord, shall we strike with the sword? And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. But Jesus answered and said, permit even this. And he touched his ear and healed him. Then Jesus said to the chief priests, captains of the temple, and the elders who had come to him, have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you daily in the temple, you did not try to seize me. But this is your hour and the power of darkness. Having arrested him, they led him and brought him into the high priest's house. But Peter followed at a distance. Now when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. And a certain servant girl, seeing him as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him and said, this man was also with him. But he denied him, saying, woman, I do not know him. And after a little while, another saw him and said, you also are of them. But Peter said, man, I am not. Then after about an hour had passed, another confidently affirmed, saying, surely this fellow also was with him, for he is a Galilean. But Peter said, man, I do not know what you are saying. Immediately while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. And the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said to him, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." So Peter went out and wept bitterly. Now the men who held Jesus mocked him and beat him, and having blindfolded him, they struck him on the face and asked him, saying, "Prophesy, who is the one who struck you?" And many other things they blasphemously spoke against him. As soon as it was day, the elders of the people, both chief priests and scribes, came together and led him into their council, saying, "If you are the Christ, tell us." But he said to them, "If I tell you, you will by no means believe. And if I also ask you, you will by no means answer me or let me go. Hereafter, the Son of Man will sit on the right hand of the power of God." Then they all said, "Are you then the Son of God?" So he said to them, "You rightly say that I am." And they said, "What further testimony do we need? For we have heard it ourselves from his own mouth." Then the whole multitude of them arose and led him to Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, "We found this fellow perverting the nation and forbidding to pay taxes to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ, a king." Then Pilate asked him, saying, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered him and said, "It is as you say." So Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowd, "I find no fault in this man." But they were the more fierce, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, beginning from Galilee to this place." When Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked if the man were a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at that time. Now when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he had desired for a long time to see him, because he had heard many things about him, and he hoped to see some miracle done by him. Then he questioned him with many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and scribes stood and vehemently accused him. Then Herod, with his men of war, treated him with contempt and mocked him, arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him back to Pilate. That very day, Pilate and Herod became friends with each other, for previously they had been at enmity with each other. Then Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people, said to them, "You have brought this man to me as one who misleads the people. And indeed, having examined him in your presence, I have found no fault in this man concerning those things of which you accuse him. No, neither did Herod, for I sent you back to him. And indeed, nothing deserving of death has been done by him. I will therefore chastise him and release him, for it was necessary for him to release one to them at the feast." And they all cried out at once, saying, "Away with this man, and release to us Barabbas, who had been thrown into prison for a certain rebellion made in the city, and for murder." Pilate, therefore, wishing to release Jesus, again called out to them. But they shouted, saying, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Then he said to them the 3rd time, "Why? What evil has he done? I have found no reason for death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go." But they were insistent, demanding with loud voices that he be crucified. And the voices of these men and of the chief priests prevailed. So Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they requested. And he released to them the one they requested, who for rebellion and murder had been thrown into prison. But he delivered Jesus to their will. Now as they led him away, they laid hold of a certain man, Simon, a Cyrenian, who was coming from the country, and on him they laid the cross that he might bear it after Jesus. And a great multitude of the people followed him, and women who also mourned and lamented him. But Jesus, turning to them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For indeed the days are coming in which they will say, Blessed are the barren, wombs that never bore, and breasts which never nursed. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Cover us. For if they do these things in the green wood, what will be done in the dry? There were also 2 others, criminals, led with him to be put to death. And when they had come to the place called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the criminals, one on the right hand, and the other on the left. Then Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And they divided his garments, and cast lots, and the people stood looking on. But even the rulers with them sneered, saying, He saved others. Let him save himself if he is the Christ, the chosen of God. The soldiers also mocked him, coming and offering him sour wine, and saying, If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself. And an inscription also was written over him in letters of Greek, Latin, and Hebrew. This is the King of the Jews. Then one of the criminals who were hanged blasphemed him, saying, If you are the Christ, save yourself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, Do you not even fear God, seeing you are under the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong. Then he said to Jesus, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said to him, Assuredly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. Now it was about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. Then the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was torn in 2. And when Jesus had cried out with a loud voice, he said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Having said this, he breathed his last. So when the centurion saw what had happened, he glorified God, saying, Certainly this was a righteous man. And the whole crowd who came together to that sight, seeing what had been done, beat their breasts and returned. But all his acquaintances and the women who followed him from Galilee stood at a distance, watching these things. Now behold, there was a man named Joseph, a council member, a good and just man. He had not consented to their decision and deed. He was from Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who himself was also waiting for the kingdom of God. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then he took it down, wrapped it in linen, and laid it in a tomb that was hewn out of the rock, where no one had ever lain before. That day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew near. And the women who had come with him from Galilee followed after, and they observed the tomb and how his body was laid. Then they returned and prepared spices and fragrant oils, and they rested on the Sabbath according to the commandment. Now on the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they and certain other women with them came to the tomb, bringing the spices which they had prepared. But they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. Then they went in and did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. And it happened, as they were greatly perplexed about this, that behold, 2 men stood by them in shining garments. Then, as they were afraid and bowed their faces to the earth, they said to them, Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spoke to you when he was still in Galilee, saying, The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified, and the 3rd day rise again. And they remembered his words. Then they returned from the tomb and told all these things to the 11 and to all the rest. It was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the other women with them, who told these things to the apostles. And their words seemed to them like idle tales, and they did not believe them. But Peter arose and ran to the tomb, and stooping down, he saw the linen cloths lying by themselves, and he departed, marveling to himself at what had happened. Now behold, two of them were traveling that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. So it was, while they conversed and reasoned, that Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained, so that they did not know him. And he said to them, "What kind of conversation is this that you have with one another as you walk and are sad?" Then the one whose name was Cleopas answered and said to him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem? And have you not known the things which happened there in these days?" And he said to them, "What things?" So they said to him, "The things concerning Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Indeed, besides all this, today is the 3rd day since these things happened. Yes, and certain women of our company, who arrived at the tomb early, astonished us. When they did not find his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels who said he was alive."
I saw a video that said that, I don't know what kind of scientist, I don't know, whoever, astrologist or whatever, they were able to map back in the day that there was a, what is it called when the moon covers the sun? I can't think of what that's called. An eclipse. On the around this time or whatever. So in the part where it says that the sun was darkened, they actually have shown that it was an eclipse and that it actually happened. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty interesting. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then the linen that Jesus was wrapped in, I forget what they call it. I saw a bunch of videos about it around Easter time, and they have been studying it, and they believe that it is the linen that Jesus was wrapped in. And it's pretty dang cool. So, I don't know. Anyways, well, I am going to pray right now and try to be just brutally honest with God about how I'm feeling. And I think part of me is also frustrated with myself because I'm also not being disciplined. I'm letting my emotions, and my flesh dictate how I'm acting right now, how I'm doing things, how I'm emotionally eating. I'm not putting in as much work as I should be putting in to make the changes that God's asking of me. I can ask him for strength all day long, but I have to actually be the one to do these things. And it's just difficult for me because I tend to give in to my emotions and quickly. Like, I I have a hard time managing my emotions, but it's something I'm working on, and I'm gonna get past this. I know I will. Am I stumbling along the way? Oh, yeah. But I think that's why I feel so grateful to God that He's guided me to sharing my journey here on YouTube, because I know I'm not alone in how I'm stumbling and how I'm struggling with all of these things in my walk with God and being obedient to Him and disciplined. And not enough people talk about that. Not enough people talk about how we're not perfect and we struggle and we stumble and it's frustrating and we don't always know what to do and it's hard and but it's important to just keep going, to keep trying, to keep praying, to keep just keep trying each day, and that's what I'm doing. Some days I'm not trying as hard as I should be or I could be, but I think when I think back and I reflect on my past, I've made a lot of progress, especially in the area of how I eat. Guys, you have no idea how bad I used to eat. Like, when in my mid-20s, I remember I would go to QT, a gas station right around from where I worked, and I would get a 32-ounce soda, Mountain Dew, and then I would get a bag of Lay's chips, and then I would eat a hot dog, just by itself. And that's what I ate for breakfast. I'm not joking. And then there were times where I was so depressed and mentally struggling that I would not eat at all. Like, at all. And then there was some times where I would order a pizza on Friday night, and that's what I ate for Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. Home alone, getting high. So I've made a lot of progress, and I think that I have to remember that, and I have to remember that this is a long-term lifestyle that I'm trying to grow into and I'm trying to evolve into. And yeah, I'm stumbling, but overall I've made significant progress, and I know that God's got my back and God's helping me, and I just need to be more receptive of when He's helping me and guiding me and giving me, like telling me, hey, don't eat that. Eat something else, and just keep praying to Him for strength and healing and to make better choices. And ultimately, at the end of the day, God's already told me everything I need to do. I just need to be disciplined and do it. And just keep asking God for strength to do it, to be disciplined, to say no to things that I should not be doing or eating or, and so, yeah. Don't give up, guys. I'm not giving up. You don't give up. We can do this. All right. I will see you guys in 2 days for some more chapters. Bye.